Hi again, this is Bob, Speed Gems, and we're covering this 460 to 6R80. Well, we got quite a bit further along. The engine's in, and I think we'll start it up for you today. Drive shaft's in, exhaust is in, electrical wiring's done. Carburetor's got initial tuning on jetting and power valve and float adjustment, etc. We got the radiators, power steering, everything's hooked up, ready to go. So, first thing is, we used and I had a hard time doing this. This is a GM HEI style distributor, and they don't make the things high enough. I had to find this this water outlet that was clearanced, and then there's only a short adjustment area to get that in there, but I got it to work. And if you buy these, I found out that there's supposed to be 3 cotter keys in them, and there was only 2 in it. I was working on it, and the whole gear fell right out the bottom, so it's a good thing I was working with it, or I wouldn't have found that and stuffed it in there, and it would have been bad news. And then I checked. I had bought 2 of them. The other one was the same way. It was missing a roll pin. Carburetor, that's on and all set for. I've got initial jetting, power valve, float adjustment, and air bleeds set for what I believe is going to make it run all right. You know, initial. I'll do some more tuning to it later. But because we're running that 6R80, I also put on this auxiliary throttle position sensor that gets wired to the 6R80 computer. And you can see what I did for the wiring here. And I know it's not normally on the outside of the firewall, but this is a built truck, and it already had it was really busy under the firewall. They had it. There's really no room for it inside. So I put this out here, and what I've done is I used a high amp relay. It's from MSD. And the ignition key just turns the relay on, and that supplies all the power to the fuse block. And I got every single circuit I've put on the car has got its own circuit. So I've got the start relay, which goes with the 6R80 because it's got its own neutral safety switch built into it. And starter's hooked up. Got a good power point here. Got a good ground here. I got the I grounded the heck out of everything. You know, it's pretty standard when you got a electronic transmission. You got to make sure everything's grounded really well. I'm going to lift this thing up and show you the bottom because we got the exhaust and drive shaft, and I redid the cross member as well. So let's get it up in the air. All right, car's up in the air, and you can see that just about everything's done here. We've got, you know, in the other episode we did the, you know, we moved the rack forward and down. That's all done. We have real minimal clearance out here, but we have clearance. You can see how the exhaust is, I put 2.5-inch exhaust on there, and it was real busy on this side. So I dropped it down and then raised it back up. It turned out real well with the H-pipe. And then being a tranny guy, from what I've done most of my life, I made it easy to get out because if I have to take tranny out, I don't like working around the exhaust. So I put these couplers here on it, and this type of a clamp. This whole exhaust comes off really easy. Any car I build is that way. And let's see. Here's if you look here, you can see the fuel system. I don't know if you can really see that there. That took me a little while to get that right. It's funny, the Holly Red wouldn't draw fuel, even though I'm really close to the tank and lower than the tank. The Holly Red simply wouldn't draw fuel. So I put a Holly Blue in there, which has got more pressure than I want, so I dropped it down with the pressure regulator. And that took me a little while because I had to do it twice. So, and the drive shaft's done, that's in. And in order to clearance the exhaust, I redid from the other episode. If you watch the thing, or I don't know if you watch them all at one shot or not, but you'll see a totally different cross member. I redid this whole cross member to give myself more clearance. That worked out real nice. You can see that everything's clearanced really well. I've got, for cooler lines, the 6R80, they recommend AN8. So a pair of these lines, these stainless steel braided lines with AN8s, it was $320 just for 2 lines. Tell you what, it's getting expensive to build cars these days. The one thing that's not done yet is I haven't got the shifter made. The shifter cable that I'm going to use, it just showed up yesterday. So I still have to put the shifter together and put the floorboard back down. But other than that, this truck's mostly done. It's almost ready for a test drive. Matter of fact, we should set it down and fire this bad boy up. All right, well, back in the ground. We're going to get ready to fire this bad boy up. But just wanted to say, if you're looking at this and you're seeing all these wires lay here, well, I've got a little ways to go on that. We got the wire loom and got to pretty that up a little bit. And also, the belt isn't on two of the pulleys. I had some belt climb on the AC compressor, so I'm leaving it off for the initial fire up so I don't lose a belt. I'll fix that later. And I think I got the carb set pretty well, so it ought to just fire up and idle. It's initial, but it's good enough to fire up.